Hey, what's up again, everybody? It's Robert184, 2 R's, 2 B's from YouTube and gundam.tk. The newest episode, episode 3 of Gundam Age, has just hit the airwaves, and here is a recap, some thoughts, and a review all rolled into one, so let's get this started. I'm just going to kick things off with the Gafran front and center, because let me tell you, if I had seen this episode last week, I wouldn't have been as keen to buy this one, because pretty much this one in this color variation does not show up at all. But you can check out its review, of course, on my site. First of all, when the episode kicks off, there's no cold open. You don't go straight to the action. Instead, you're going to get a recap of the first 2 episodes, very short, and then you get the same voiceover that we've seen a few times. And that is the last time that the Gafran is going to star in my imagination. I think it's only downhill from here for this blue version anyway. Now, once they get things going, the bridge, they're going to cut there. You've got Captain Grudek and this incredibly annoying sound. I'm afraid to even bring it up because if I do, I'm afraid that once it's heard, you may not be able to unhear it. I hope we don't hear it for the rest of the show, or at least for the rest of this first generation, because if every time the Divas bridge is shown they do that, it's going to be annoying. However, at the end of episode 2, what happened? Well, the Gafran's big brother, the Zedas, or the Zedas, showed up in its grayness, and it just establishes its credibility immediately. It attacks the diva, and it could have wiped out the bridge, it looks like, but instead it says, hey, I've got bigger fish to fry, and it flies off. You wonder why? Hopefully that's going to get revealed later. And in the background we have the Age 1 facing off with a purple Gafran, which again is the blue one, already obsolete. And then we're going to get an appearance from the 1 Year War, the old classic, yes, it's the ball. We've seen the gym already in the Genoese. And then you're going to have a ball, so it's great to see that they're mining the old stuff for just that new kind of thing. And it turns out to be a little bit of a Chekhov's gun, as you may see later. Now, the whole plot of this episode is that they've got to get the inside core of Nora outside before it blows up. They have their 6-hour time limit. And they do humanize the evacuation by showing some of the population running away, including a girl and her cute stuffed bear, which will come back, but not in the way that I sort of expected. Now, Bruiser and Grudek really come across as having a strong role in this. I'm liking Captain Grudek more and more. You get a Yoda speech from Bruiser where he says to him, listen, do or do not, there is no try, you've got to get this hole done. And all of a sudden, Carrot Top shows up on the bridge, so I'm looking forward to seeing who he is. He spends time with Vargas in the opening credits anyway, so I wonder if he's going to be more at the mechanical end than the pilot end. After that, it's back to the Gundam where it should be, and you'll remember that he has a passenger/stowaway along the way. The unfortunately named Yudin, or, well, just call her Tifa for the rest of this. 2 important things happen with this development. First of all, we can see that she does have more powers, and that she can either unlock them in Flit, or she can just allow him to access what he's already got. And she does that by putting her hand on his hand, which serves to do 2 things besides advance the new type of powers, and allows him to see the pattern of the purple Gafran, and then actually have a chance against it, because before he just couldn't do it. But it also sets up perhaps a little bit of a love triangle, which means perhaps Emily isn't going to have the clear and easy path that she will, but it sort of reminds me of Macross a little more than Gundam along the way. Now the Zedas, here it uses its brain and it says, hey, instead of attacking the diva, I'm going to go blow up the control center of the whole colony, and it does that, and you may remember that it's only Bruiser who's left behind. And I'm actually impressed to see that the bad guys are using a little bit of intelligence in this, whether it's blowing up their own fallen allies or things like that. Of course, wiping out the bridge of the diva probably in the long run would have proven to be a better thing, but it seemed like a good idea at the time. And then we have the obligatory explanation of the kid says to him, DK or whatever, Dairy Queen. Anyway, he says, well, why can't we just send out a stronger weapon to Flit whenever he needs one? And then we get the explanation that comes down, yes, weapons, we need more data, and courage is the most important weapon at all. And after the cheesy music plays, and then you realize that if they put out a new weapon for this, nobody would be able to buy it. They're going to have to wait at least a couple weeks in between high-greed releases, because if they did 12, 13, 26, 39, 52 episodes, who knows, it would get a little bit ridiculous. But then we have the most important part. They can't complete the evacuation because of the damage done by the Zedas, but Bruiser says, we'll show them yet, we'll make them think about this. And the MSs, most importantly, he foreshadows, have to do their part. Throughout the episode, Bruiser had been gaining in importance, or so it seems, and then we're going to have the inevitable flashback. Well, inevitable seeming anyway. Team America never had a song about that. And here we get into the Asano family and their importance and the mobile suits and all that brings into it. as he flashes back to the most important thing, the master grade frame, which, people like us just build out of plastic, but this kid, Flit Asano, at the age of who knows what during the flashback, was able to build this himself. I'm really curious if this is how the master grade is going to look, because if it is, I'm going to buy it anyway, but it would certainly look cool if they had that played up in the anime, and I'm sure that's something they actually thought about months ago when this was in production. Now back to the battle, where there was a fantastic freeze frame that's well worth doing a screen save of, where they have a freeze frame of Flit and Tifa as they fight the Zedas. The Zedas. Basically, they're looking very impressive and a lot more mature than their years. And the background music here has started to get good. Age so far hasn't had really anything that's jumped out at me like Double O or, well, especially Seed had some great stuff, especially early on. But basically, as the background music starts to pick up, Bruiser pulls off the manual release, the Diva pulls out, and everything looks good except for the fact that the Zedas is going to go and attack the Diva, which makes sense, and Flit's in trouble because he's used up all of his ammo from the Dodds rifle, which the Dodds rifle has a fantastic sound, and it looks great when it's firing, really comes across as outside of the Unicorn Gundams and its Beam Magnum as one of the more impressive looking and sounding weapons when it shows, and the fact that we got that in episode 2 just makes me curious about where it's going to go from there. But in the end, the Age 1 hits him with his last shot, stands in front of him, spreads his arms and says, "You will go no further." At which point the Gafran here, filling in for the Zedas, instead of getting the regular sound we get as their green eye flashes, makes a strange sound and decides now is the time to retreat. So things are looking good for our heroes until another explosion rocks the station, which all of a sudden sends a whole bunch of stuff crashing down, which means that they can't pull the core out. Everything they've done up to now, if they can't get it out, is going to be a moot point because it's about to be destroyed. And that's when I said to myself, yes, the Age system, despite what they said earlier, the Titus is coming. This guy's going to Hulk out, he's going to go down there, and it'll be a scene right out of Spider-Man where he's doing what counts because he's got the strength and the will. And instead, they cut out, they surprise me, and the old man, Bruiser, is now in a ball, the Chekhov's gun, which is loaded with explosives. And as he heads in, he says to Flit, "You've got to do what you've got to do." And then we get a dead silence. He explodes. Flit screams after the Spock speech where he says, "You've got the power, the needs of the many. We have to save more people. And you've got the responsibility and now the power, Flit. So you've got to use it." And with that emotional ending, Grudek does an epic send out as the Diva blasts out full power. And everybody, including Flit, on the colony is quite saddened with the manly tears, for the men anyway, coming out as they watch their home destroyed. As the Age 1 sits in the hangar of the Diva, they set up the next episode where they're going to be rendezvousing with the fleet, and they're going to have to get the colonists moved off somehow, which excites me just to the possibility of having an evil federation, or at least one where they don't, their ideals are not fully expressed, except for by the fact of the crew of the brave ship, which we've seen quite a few times. Now, in terms of the love triangle, Tifa gives her hairband to Flit, and she sees Emily, but they don't end up speaking, and his friend DK says, well, who's she? And at the very end of the episode, it looks like we're going to set up some more interpersonal relations here in the next episode, because the regeneration pod opens, and a mysterious guy with white hair pops up and says, "Ah, it's the smell of battle," which seems to be setting up quite a contrast with Flit, who seems to fight for the right reasons. But the fact that his name is Wolf's name is all the way up in the credits means that he's going to be a huge player coming up. He's of course got his own custom Genoese coming out, which if episode 4 does a good job, I'll probably want to buy. So some random observations before I give you my final impression, and that's when I see the Diva, does that thing, it just looks like it has to transform. But most important for me is the Age 1 was looking fantastic. It looked horrible, I thought, in the first episode in a few of the frames where it was animated. Almost 1979 Gundam-ish. Instead, it's just looking better and better. The fact that it's actually fighting, got a good weapon, and striking some great poses certainly helps its cause. But I'm very impressed with this, and already the H1 Normal is one up there in terms of good-looking Gundams, I have to say. But the real star for me is sort of highlighted here by the fact that the Gafran is now of complete disinterest almost, unless it's purple, just because, A, we heard a new sound from it. I was half expecting to hear some R2-D2 stuff, but I'm really looking forward to the model of that, which after building the Gafran, I can't necessarily say that I was, but the fact that it's got such a prominent role in the opening and the fact that it's just been so good in this episode, I wonder if there's always going to be a star of the week, but this one certainly fit the part. I'm curious, is it going to have red parts? Is it going to have more than 2 colors? It looks like it has gold hands. And something that really struck me about it is that when they were fighting, he kept saying how fast it is. And to go back to Char, that sounds very familiar. But when they were drawing it and you've got the beams of light whooshing through the sky, they actually drew the Zedas as being faster than the H1, which I thought was a great touch and something that as he got better at the end seemed to disappear, and they started to be a little bit more equal as the animators took the easy way out and just drew them at a very far distance. So overall, I have to say that even though it's taken us 3 episodes to get this far and we haven't had a lot of character development, we've at least been introduced to most of the characters, and they've been set up in a way that makes you want to know more about them, which is about to happen now that Flit has rendezvoused with the ship itself. Setting up the idea of a cool war-liking senpai is certainly going to be intriguing. I look forward to seeing the relationship between the two of them, and I'm sure some respect is going to develop along the way. But most importantly, from a modeling perspective, I look forward to seeing the Genoese, and I look forward to seeing this guy replaced by the Zedas, because he stole the show for me in episode 3, and I can't wait to actually find out. So far, it's been a solid show, despite the fact that we don't know who the bad guys are, what their motivations are, and why they're doing what they're doing. Once that happens, the plot can only get more intriguing, and I'm looking forward to seeing how Gundam Age is going to progress from here. As I always like to say though, that's just me. Why don't you let me know what you think of episode 3 and where it's going to be going from here? Which MSs, which characters impressed you? What kind of reveals do you think we're going to be getting in the future? However, I have to say, 3 episodes in, I am hooked. Now every Sunday I look forward to seeing what's happening. The fact that they added some emotion and the old man sacrifice just sets everything up. Flit's going to have a sense of responsibility, and he already seems wise and battle-hardened beyond his years, and it's only been, what, probably a few hours in story time. I look forward to seeing how this progresses over this generation and the next ones. Thanks for watching. See you next time, everybody. Wait, you're telling me that City won 6-1? Yeah. And you're gonna have to get some more bad guys here?